A proverb a day makes the folly go away. Proverbs 10:17. Whoever heeds instruction is on the path to life, but he who rejects reproof leads others astray. Now, I mentioned before how I was kind of a listener, I guess, the goody two shoes kid when I was in school. And I guess you can say that was the case. But why was that? Because I didn't want to get in trouble. Now, when we go back to the verse, what does that second part say? He who rejects reproof leads others astray. What could we say about this? We could look at this in two different ways. What you do when you reject and when you decide to go in your own path, other people will see that and they do the same thing. It's easy to do things that you're not supposed to do. You always find it weird that it's easy to do things that we're not supposed to do. It's easy to get into trouble. It's easy to get caught up in situations. It's like it almost comes second nature. But to do good things, to serve, to, I don't know, show honor to your parents by living a lifestyle that they would approve of, to be kind to other people, to take care of your own responsibilities. Those things always seem to be difficult. And why? Because we're sinful at heart. Because we're sinful with our flesh. We are sinful. So the sinful thing becomes easy to do. And when somebody else sees it, they get drawn to it and they act the same way. You ever notice how when we talk about children that we see that kids become bad influences on one another? If you see some kid that's misbehaving and then your first thought is, yeah, I don't want my kid hanging around that. Why? Why is that? Because kids are malleable. You can easily affect the way that they act, the way that they do things. I mentioned this. I keep bringing up the video. Maybe it's a shameless plug-in, but I mentioned this in my other video when I talking about being a foster parent and how it became difficult because when I had the boy in our house, we were raising him one way, but all it took was being with his siblings for a couple of hours, and it's like everything that we did was out the window. All it took was him being with his siblings and going back to his mom's house for a couple of hours or maybe a weekend. And it's like everything we done during that week was out the window. Why? Because sin is easy to do. And when you see other people doing it, it makes it all the more for you to be like, oh yeah, I could go ahead and do this because they're doing it. Therefore, I can do it too. And then the worst part is, the one that's committing the crime is the one that'll try to bring people over. You ever realize that? Hey, come do what it is that I'm doing. Come join me in what I'm doing. I don't ever recall doing something mischievous when I was younger. Seeing whether it be like my cousins or like guys at my school or whatever the case may be, or maybe guys at the church doing something mischievous and ever being like, oh, nah, don't do this because you might get in trouble. You never hear that. That was like, yeah, come on, come join us without a problem. Yet for some odd reason, when it comes to Christianity, we're so reluctant in telling people to come join us. You ever notice that? That was a shot, but honestly, that was like a wake up call. I just noticed that myself. Like honestly, right at the second I noticed that. But it's interesting. Those that reject reproof will lead others astray. Those that seek rejection, that don't want to follow the rules, that don't want to follow the instructions, that don't want to be disciplined, they will turn away and live in their folly. They will live in whatever misinformation that they may get. They will live in the sinful lifestyle that they want to be in. And they'll gladly grab people and tell them to come here because they don't want to be alone. They don't want to be alone. And it's interesting when I think about that because you would think that people that live in sin would be okay with being alone, but they're not. But the people that try to live a righteous life, they have a peace to where if they are alone, they're okay. Now, granted, it's better when you have people around you, and it's recommended to have people around you. The word says specifically that we should always come together and meet up with one another. But it's like with those that follow the faith, we don't see them feeling like, oh, I need people here. I want to draw people over here so that they can be around me. but those that reject instruction, that rejects being corrected and being told maybe you should live your lifestyle a little differently, a little better, or try doing this. They're the ones that'll try to drag you down with them, which is interesting. So then the questions become, how do we continue to live with ourselves when we're around certain people that exhibit these type of behaviors? These are people that you know. These are your buddies, your boys. These are your girls, your homegirls that you knew since y'all was this big. How do we handle their company if they're living this type of lifestyle where they constantly reject instruction? Well, one simple way is to, and it's tough to say, you just gotta let them go, unfortunately. Now, not let them go like drop them by the wayside, but be very observant and knowing when it is that they're doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, and be the difference and be the light and shine the light on them and be like, yo, we shouldn't be doing this. How about we do this instead? Now, I say this as though I was the one shining the light. There were definitely times when I was younger when I was like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and, like, me and my cousin, yo, we stole so much stuff, it was ridiculous. But then eventually we changed and we stopped stealing. Honestly, I didn't even bring that up with him. We kind of just stopped. Yeah. Huh. That's odd. Anyways, so getting back to the point, we need to be seeking a lifestyle where we're constantly learning, where we're constantly seeking opportunities to be taught. And not only that, when there's a situation where, let's say, we're being judged or we're being corrected, that we respond in a way that can benefit us in a matter of we're able to grow, we're able to learn, we're able to become better because of whatever the situation is. If we live in this lifestyle where, yeah, I'm good, or I don't need to learn this, or oh, you don't know what you're talking about type thing, not really taking into consideration, this is wisdom that you're missing out on. That's information that you're just leaving on the table, and thus opportunities for somebody to come and manipulate you because of something that you don't know because you refuse to seek correction. We need to be mindful of these situations. Anytime when there's any type of reproof or correction that may be happening, accept it. Accept it and seek change. As long as that change is coming from truth and not just some random stuff that they're saying. Of course, validate whatever it is that you're being reproved for. And if it's justified, accept it. That's only going to make you all the more better. No time for rejections. Anytime receive advice, it's not all negative. This is called constructive criticism. There's going to be some times where people may say things that are harsh. This is when we have to develop that tough skin, but not be so tough that we're just sitting there like a block of cinder and we can't take in anything. We have to leave that opening so that we can then learn, so that we can then change our mindset and be able to grow and become better. But it doesn't just come with receiving positive input. It also comes with receiving negative as well, so that you can figure out what can you do to get better. A lot of people that are, mockers and scoffers and that hate reproof, they lack that sense of trying to get better. And that's what keeps them where they're at. You need to break out of that mindset. Correction also reveals character. Anytime when you're corrected, it shows who you are. You're either a wise person that's going to take that correction, or you're just somebody that's not going to listen, and somebody that's probably ill-informed or misinformed or disinformed. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's going to put your trust in that individual at risk. Or at least if you're that person, it's going to put the trust that person has in you at risk, because why would I trust somebody that refuses to receive instruction, that refuses to learn? You think I'm going to be able to deal with them if it's like a student-teacher situation, if it's a coach-student situation, if it's a life and death situation where I need to depend on you to do something and to learn something? No, man. And understand that you're not the only one affected when it comes to these type of situations. We need to understand that, again, living a sinful life, sinful lifestyle, sinful mindset doesn't affect just you. It affects other people heavenly. So again, like it says in the verse, if you're going to sit here and reject correction, it's going to show and it's going to influence others. and they're going to do the same thing. We've seen it plenty of times before, especially in movies. Bro, guys, they show this in movies all the time. Situations where you have the older brother that's just like the cool brother that the younger brother just loves to hang around because that's his older brother and everything's all good and dandy. And then next thing you know, older brother is deciding to be rebellious against the parents because the parents are putting discipline on him, but he doesn't like to be disciplined. He wants to be big and bad all by himself. So he goes out and then he does smoking, he does drugs and stuff like that. Maybe homie may have a gun or whatever the case may be. And then the brother catches wind of this. And because he wants to be cool, he tries to do the same thing like his brother because it's easy to give into the sin. And then if you see somebody else doing it, it's easy for them to want to do it too. And then what happens? If it's a good movie or a good show, something happens to the brother. If it's a bad movie, well, not a bad movie, but if it's a pretty light movie, then there's always a lesson that's learned and both of them end up being alive. But how many times, especially now in this world, have we heard, yeah, they shot my younger brother, or I saw my older brother get shot because of situations, because of the environments, because of lack of correction or wanting to be corrected and just wanting to do your own thing. And thus it affected somebody else. Let's get rid of the pride and learn and grow. We have the opportunity to do so. Let's not let social media mess that up for us. Let's not let being in our environment mess that up for us. It's okay to be different. Be different if it means that you're going to live a better life. If it means that your life is going to be better in the future. Legally, be different. Learn, grow. But as always, guys, don't just take my word for it. Read the Bible yourself. I'm going to catch you on the next one.